I have a secret to share with all you. I still have my childhood stuffed animal, but I bet at least half of this room do too. Yeah, I know it sounds a little embarrassing. As a high school senior, I still hang on to a raggedy old teddy bear. I mean, it has random holes, its fur is all matted, and it lost its original shape. But there was once a time where it was the perfect stuffed animal I got when I was born. Yet it still sits proudly on my bed. I decided to name this bear Baby. Now, this wasn't just a toy that younger me would play around with. It became a part of me. Everywhere I went, Baby went. Whether it was on vacation or at doctor's appointments, you name it, that bear was right by my side. Of course, I knew this bear wasn't real. It was just a fluffy toy that my aunt gave me. But there's a sense of safety that holding on to that bear brought me. I could release all my nerves and fears onto it when I didn't have the words to express them. Recently, I was thinking about one of my core memories. That was when I lost Baby. It felt like the world was ended, and I couldn't sleep, and I begged my parents to search the whole entire house until I could find it. Eventually, we found it. My mom made me try all other stuffed animals to see if I could sleep, but I simply just couldn't. This made me curious. Why was I so attached to this stuffed animal? Now, maybe yours wasn't a teddy bear. Maybe it was a blanket, a toy, or even a swatch of fabric. The chances are at one point in your life you had a comfort object too. And there's actually a psychological reason as to why we get so attached to them. These objects are what's known as comfort objects. They are first emotional anchors in life. They help us feel secure, regulate our emotions, and start forming identities. But our need for our attachment begins before we even meet our favorite fluffy bunnies or snuggly blankets. It starts with our mothers. Inside the womb, we are aware of our mother's heartbeat, voice, and even her emotional states. Studies have shown that babies can recognize their mother's voice and scent within hours of being born. That's how deeply ingrained that bond is. From the moment we enter the world, our brains are wired to seek closeness, safety, and touch. A newborn's nervous system is not fully developed, and they rely entirely on the caregiver to regulate basic stress responses. When we are born, this attachment continues to deepen and develop. We look to our caregiver for food, safety, and love. And when that caregiver isn't there, even just for a few seconds, we feel a detachment. Personally, I had a really strong connection to my mom as a baby. People would always say I was like a little monkey. I'd always cling to the side of her hip. So I had a difficult time when I was away from her. This attachment was tested in the 1970s by psychologist Mary Ainsworth. She expanded on the work of her colleague John Bowlby by conducting one of the most famous experiments in developmental psychology, the strange situation. This carefully designed observational study aimed to assess how infants form attachments to their mothers. The setup was simple but powerful. A 1-year-old infant was brought into the lab playroom with their mother. Over the course of a 20-minute session, the baby would experience a series of separations and reunions. The mother would be in the room, she would leave, a stranger would enter, and then the mother would come back. The child's reactions were carefully observed during each phase. There are 3 main style attachments observed. The first primary style was secure attachment. About 70% of the infants demonstrated this, showing distress when the mother left, but calm quickly when she returned. The second style was insecure avoidant, which made up 15% of infants. The children showed little reaction to both the mother leaving and returning. Lastly, insecure resistant made up the other 15% of infants. With this, the babies were very distressed when the mother left and struggled to calm down even when she came back. These reactions are shaped by how consistent and responsive caregivers meet the baby's needs on a day-to-day basis. The takeaway from this experiment was the consistency and responsiveness of a caregiver, especially in moments of distress, shapes a child's emotional blueprint. And when caregivers aren't consistently available, children often turn to comfort objects as reliable stand-ins. As psychologist John Bowlby once said, a baby's confidence in its mother's accessibility and responsiveness is built up over the first year. If the baby cries and the caregiver doesn't respond, that baby will eventually stop crying. It learns to turn elsewhere to seek attention they're craving, and sometimes that elsewhere is a teddy bear. British psychoanalyst Donald Winnicott called them transitional objects. They are the bridge between total dependence on a caregiver and the beginning of our independence. These items are soft, warm, and familiar. They carry a scent, memories, and a sense of home. When mom or dad is in their suits after a nightmare, that object steps in. It doesn't speak, it doesn't move, but it comforts. In fact, studies have shown that when a child has an attachment object nearby, they play and explore just as confidently as if their mother were there with them. This ability to explore more confidently is what psychologists call secure-based behavior. A child with a secure base knows that if they get scared, tired, or overwhelmed, there is someone or something they can safely return to. And over time, as children grow, they begin to project on these objects. They name them, talk to them, say things like Teddy is scared. But the thing is, the toy isn't scared, it's them that's scared. They're learning to express their emotions safely even when they can't quite say what they feel. This process is called externalization. It's a way a child learns emotional literacy. By attributing their feelings onto an object outside of themselves, they can understand them better. These objects become more than a source of comfort, they help who we are. Children model relationships through their toys. They learn empathy, storytelling, and even how to nurture. And in those scary moments alone, when anxiety kicks in and cortisol levels spike, holding that stuffed animal can actually trigger release of oxytocin, the hormone that helps us feel calm and safe. Neurologically, comfort objects stimulate the same brain pathways activated during human touch and bonding. When oxytocin is released, it lowers blood pressure and cortisol, even improves mood. It's no coincidence that we instinctively reach for a soft, familiar item in times of stress. Our brains are wired for that connection, even if it's simply just a teddy bear. And guess what? Not just kids, but adults too benefit from these comfort objects. Research shows that holding a familiar stuffed animal, even as an adult, can lower anxiety. In fact, adults experiencing trauma, grief, or stress may benefit from reconnecting with a comfort object in therapy setting. There's growing evidence that these objects can serve as tools for emotional regulation, especially people working through younger trauma. But here's the deeper part. So how we attach to these comfort objects as a child often reveals how we attach to people as adults. Remember those attachment styles from before? They show up in our relationships too. Whether it's relationships, like romantic ones, platonic, or even how we relate to coworkers, people with secure attachment likely have reliable caregivers, and maybe even a trusty comfort object. They tend to form trusted and stable relationships with others. Someone insecure avoidant may have learned early on that comfort wasn't guaranteed, not from a caregiver or maybe not from a toy either. As adults, they struggle to form trust and ask for help. Lastly, someone with an insecure resistant attachment might have received inconsistent care, sometimes love, sometimes distance. They grow up craving connection but fearing abandonment. So yes, that tattered teddy bear may have taught you more about love and trust than you may have thought. As we grow older, we often feel the pressure to let go of things from our childhood that once brought us comfort. Stuffed animals gets boxed up, blankets get stored away. We tell ourselves that was just a kid thing. But the truth is, our need for comfort, connection, and emotional safety really never disappears. It just changes shape. Instead of a teddy bear, maybe now it's a favorite hoodie, a song that brings back to a safe memory, a letter you kept tucked away in a drawer. These two are comfort objects, just in a grown-up form. And what's powerful is that once we recognize how those early attachments shaped us, we start to understand how we relate to everything and everyone around us. We learn why we pull away when we're overwhelmed, or why we crave closeness even when we're scared to ask for it. We start seeing ourselves and others with more compassion, because everyone you meet carries some version of Baby the Bear with them, whether it's a memory, a moment, or an object that helped us feel okay when the world didn't. So as many of us in our room are about to take another big step, whether it's college, work, or something else, I hope we don't think of our comfort objects as something to be ashamed of. That floppy bear, that torn up blanket, they're more than just things. They're beginnings, the steps to stand on your own, because it's important to hold on to comfort in a world that's constantly changing. Thank you.